Welcome back to Brilliant Fools. My name is Adam Green, and this week we have been exploring the D style of behavior and the DISC, D-I-S-C styles of behavior. So we're going to continue to do that, and we're going to look at some Wednesday Q&A here. So some questions about the D style of behavior. First of all, and I like this one a lot. Excuse me. That's better. Okay. So the first question here is, how does the D style typically respond to authority or rules? That's pretty good, because this D style of behavior often pushes back against authority and rules, kind of wants to be in authority. If I'm operating in that D style, then I'm fine with taking the reins, and I'm fine with moving forward. If I feel like there's a vacuum in leadership or someone leading, I'll jump right in, and I'm good to go with that. How I respond to authority often can be, my initial thought is to push back. And it can be to almost anything. I can just push back. If I'm too deep in this D style and not operating the way I should be. However, it can also be, if I'm operating in a healthy way in my D style of behavior, then when the authority says, hey, you should do this, I go and do it. Think of a football player out on the field, and his coach says, hey, I want you to do this, and it's out of the ordinary. It's not something they would normally do, but the coach sees something on the field. The football player trusts him. That football player can actually go in there and even rally everybody else around this idea, and then just go out there and execute it and be good to go and change like that without a lot of pushback in a healthy way. So it's not necessarily that I don't like authority or rules. It's that I'm very comfortable being in authority and making the rules, making decisions. At the same time, I can also be very comfortable pushing forward with it. If I'm deep in the D style, then maybe I wouldn't be as much, but that's just where I need to start pulling out my S and C style of behavior, where it's a little more steady and loyal, or a little more compliant type deal, and then bring the D style into it as well and help rally other people around it. So now, excuse me. This one I like a lot too. What are the potential blind spots of a D style individual in relationships? If I am too straightforward and pushing forward too much and making changes too quickly, which I can be very adaptable if I'm in that D style, then I can destabilize other people, and I can make life hard on other people because of all the changes that I'm comfortable with. I'm good with making changes. Other people might not be, and they need some steadiness. And I think of this in two ways. One, in family, but two, especially as we're talking about it in context, in my business. I mean, if I'm going to have a business and I'm going to have employees, they are most likely going to want to have some sort of stability, consistency in the way they're doing things. Change can be fine, but usually it's most fine for the person who's making the change. I'm fine with change because I decided to do it. I already know what to expect and what's ahead, and I've already set the expectations for myself, so I'm fine with changing. But if I just push forward with that in a D style of behavior, I can alienate other people. I can drive people away. However, it doesn't mean I don't change. It just means maybe I address it in a little bit of a different style, behavioral style. I know of a church who used to implement change all the time because they would tell their congregation, we're going to try this for 6 weeks. If we don't like it, we'll revert back to the way we did it. And they always meant that. They would have reverted back to the way they did it, but the church was on board usually by the end of the 6 weeks because they were used to it. They knew they had a chance to get used to it, and they knew it wasn't necessarily permanent if it wasn't going to work out. So those are ways that I can mitigate that as well. Another question, how might others perceive that D style of behavior? I like that one a lot too, because, look at as of the time of this recording, which is in August of 2025, look who our president is and see how people perceive that style of behavior. The high D style, a very strong D style of behavior, tends to push people to either end. Either they're super for you, they love what you're doing, or they're very much against you. They don't want to have any part of what it is that you're doing. So you can either draw people in and people be loyal to you, or push them away very strongly. So people can perceive a high D style as, man, that guy is successful and driven and doing great. You can think of maybe strong speakers like Tony Robbins would be that way. That a lot of people look up to a guy like that. At the same time, if you do look at our current president, then a lot of people can say, oh, he's just pushing too hard, too quickly, and changing everything, and that's just not good for anybody, right? So you can drive people away, but then you can attract other people, whereas other people are like, he's making changes that need to be made. Hooray, go for him. Let's go. Good for him. Let's go. Let's go. It just depends. It depends on where that behavior is manifesting itself. And if people agree with me or not. If they disagree, I'll probably alienate them with a strong D style of behavior, because I'm not trying to draw them in. I'm just pushing forward. If they agree, then I'll probably have them on board with me, and they'll be strongly on board. So here's another question, though. If I am in that strong D style of behavior, in what ways can I slow down and listen more intentionally? In what ways can I bring people in, show the patience, the empathy? First and foremost, I'm going to say the more I'm abiding in Christ, the more that's going to take care of itself, honestly. I'm going to show those things. But when the situation is calling for it, I need to be driven. I need to be focused. I need to be goal-oriented. How do I bring other people on board with me? We'll talk a little bit about the I style next week, and that's a good way to do it. But also a little more of the S style as well, where I'm more sensitive to the way that other people are and bringing them in and bringing them on. Yes, I can push through without that. And yes, I can have people follow me without that. But if I do bring them on, if I do show more of those S characteristics or the I characteristics, then I'm going to have more loyal people for longer and less resentment. People are going to be less likely to leave my organization. And I'll have a little more peace along with that as well, which tends to lend itself to actually achieving the goals that need to be achieved. So hopefully what that shows is just that if I concentrate too much in one area, then I can have issues. So just think on that. So what if I have somebody on my team that's showing a lot of this high D style of behavior? How do I work with that? First and foremost, I'm going to see what kind of leadership areas they can be in. Secondly, I'm going to make sure I'm communicating with them well. So I'm going to let them know what they need to know to move on and make the decisions they need to make, lead the people they need to lead. A lot of times they'll take care of things themselves because they are problem solvers. Like they're just going to figure out a way to get the thing done. So understanding what kind of work I would need that person in. And right now I'm thinking of a person who's not very mature in that. So they don't know how to differentiate between these styles of behavior and what's needed when, how to adjust. So I'm probably not going to put them in a high detail-oriented kind of role. I'm not going to get them to implement the insurance benefits for the company. I'm not going to get them to handle the bookkeeping or tax returns for the company. That's just not what I'm going to do. But I might have them in a sales role, and I might have them start leading a sales team. Because if I have certain numbers that I want to hit, they're probably going to hit it. I'm going to need to rein them in a little bit and say, all right, there are certain things we can't do. So be very clear on what those those rules are. We can't discount more than this much because then we don't have a profit to work with, to actually be able to move forward with. We can't lie about things. We got to be straightforward and honest. If we can't get the job done, we can't get the job done. We got to be, and let them know that will achieve our goals better in the long run. Might take a little while longer, so be patient, and then model the patience for them as well. So how do I know, this is one I like as well, how do I know when my assertiveness has become aggressiveness? Again, abiding in Christ will take care of that. For most people, this is not as much of an issue because most of us are just in this culture, especially in the US. We're more sensitive to each other. We understand each other. We have high S behavior in this culture. So we're not going to be too aggressive in most cases. Usually there's a couple of ways that stand out to me as to how I know my assertiveness has become aggressiveness. If I'm assertive but clear, and someone understands it, then it's okay, yes, and they go and they do, and it's good. So they're just clear with it and they're responding, and it's good. If I'm aggressive, people tend to shut down. Like they may push back. If there's a pushback, then okay. Like if they really kind of explode back, all right. It's important for me not to then just accuse them of horrible behavior, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe behavior does need to be addressed, but let me actually take that criticism constructively, whether the method of delivery was good or not. But more often than that, what I've seen is if I'm too aggressive, then the other person shuts down. And you can see it. You can see it in their face. You can see it in their eyes, their shoulders slumped. Maybe they're hanging their head, or they just kind of like, it's sort of almost like the soul leaves the body kind of situation if I'm being too aggressive. In which case I need to ask, first of all, I say, oh, I'm sorry. Did I say something to offend you? Let's talk that out, and just let them know I'm not accusing them. I'm just looking to understand where I can improve. So that's a way that I can know that. Again, this is done in combination with the other 4 styles, and these are broad categories of human behavior. These are not meant to be everything for everyone. These are broad categories. There's overlap in all of these. There's intertwinedness. So it's one of the reasons why I believe that these are not your personality. They don't define you. You can operate in any of these as the time calls for. It's so much easier to do it, not based on my own effort, but based on the Spirit of God inside of me, abiding with Christ and letting him lead me in all of these things. It just makes it so much easier. So I would encourage you to do the same. I hope this has been helpful, and until next time, thanks.